Well folks, I've just had a brilliant afternoon's fishing here at Lakeview. I was actually doing some filming on one of the other lakes. I was walking my kit back to the car park, past Ocean Lake, the lake behind me. This lake is the specimen lake. There's loads of big fish in here, and for some reason, it's a bit of a windy day, some blossoms come off the trees, it's on the surface, and some huge fish actually gobbing and eating the blossom off the surface. So I thought, I've got to get the rods out of the van. I've got the pole with me, I've got my mugging gear out, and I've actually caught some really nice fish. It's been really enjoyable. Set the camera up, I thought I'd talk you through how I've approached it, and let's get right, this can be a little bit controversial, this tactic, so I'll talk you through my theories behind it and how I've approached my little session this afternoon. So first of all, let's talk about the type of day that you need to catch some fish mugging. Sunny days, little or no wind are absolutely perfect. Anytime when you get to a venue and you see those big fish cruising around, those fish that years ago we thought were uncatchable giants, that's the day to do a bit of mugging. So you're looking for those venues where fish are generally of a big stamp. They're the fish that like to rise up and sort of intercept the sun. Carp are sun worshippers. And whenever the sun's out, those carp are going to be up in the upper layers, you know, cruising around, feeding, just before spawning time, just after spawning time, they pair up, they sort of cruise around. Now, a lot of venues, they frown upon mugging, some match anglers frown upon it, some, you know, purists frown upon it. But to me, it's a real viable tactic. It's actually something that's really enjoyable too. I actually like spotting my fish, casting towards it, you feel like you're hunting the fish rather than just catching them. And also in a match situation, it's about catching as many fish as possible at the end of the day. And mugging, or dobbing, as you know, as I say, a lot of people call it, is a brilliant way of catching a big weight of fish. And my biggest weights have come by actually catching fish inches beneath the surface and actually spotting them to catch them. So I know some can be frowned upon a little bit, but at the end of the day, our sole game is to catch fish. And if it's not harming the fish, I think it's a sound way of catching them. Let me talk to you about the kit I use for mugging fish. There's two items of kit that you'll need: a pole and a waggler rod. Nice little short waggler rod, something that's really good at picking up line at distance, but also line enough in your hand to be chucking at fish all day. And you can see that the rod I'm using, it's under 11 foot, and it's coping with really big fish really easily. Mainline wise, you want the thinnest mainline you could possibly get away with. I'm using M-Tech line, it's 4#4 breaking strain, but as you can see today, I'm giving these fish loads of stick, double figure fish, loads of stick, and it's not letting you down. The reason you use light mainline is because the float needs to be as small as possible. I'm using a Fat Boy float from Midday, and these floats are really short and stubby floats. They cast like a dream because the weight is really compact at the base of the float, and I don't use any links or anything like that to attach the float to the main line. I just slide the float onto the main line and trap it on the line with either 2 float stops or 2 number 10 slot shots, something like that. And then I've got a really long hook length. The hook length's 3 foot. The reason for that is I need to get the hook bait away from the float. The fish aren't coming to the splash of your float, they're coming to the splash of your hook bait. So if the float lands too close to the fish, you're going to spook your fish. The hook length's 0.18, that's a low vis line. I've got a size 16 hook, and I've got a little tiny bayonet on a hair rig which I'm going to push my hook bait onto. You can see really simple tactics, and obviously the only thing that I do differently to a shop bought float is I use a permanent marker to colour the float in, and that's really important because you'll be casting at fish. You need to see where your float is heading through the sky, and obviously a clear float, you can't quite pick it out in the sky, so I've painted it black. After all, the fish aren't going to spook away from your float at this style of fishing because it's in the water for literally 2 seconds before I reel it in. That's the waggler kit. Let me talk to you about pole kit, because if you can get those fish to come within pole distance, you're onto a winner. You can catch some really big weights, because obviously your end tackle control is much easier. You can pick out fish much easier. Really strong elastic. I'm using a hollow elastic. It's a yellow reactor core elastic. I've got it for a full top kit. When you hook these fish, they go mental when you hook them because they're not used to getting caught so close to the surface. You hook them, loads of splash, and then they're on the other side of the lake before you know it. So you want a nice strong elastic and plenty of it in your pole. You don't want it to bottom out too quick. 0.18 main line. I've got a little tiny Mick Wilkinson cookie dibber float, and I've just shotted that with 2 number 9 slot shot underneath that, and then I've got my hook length, which is 8" of 0.18 line. It's the same size 16 hook and bayonet arrangement as I've got on the waggler rod. Again, I've got about 18 inches of depth between the hook bait and the float. That's because you're catching these fish on the drop. When you slap your bait in, it makes a little plop, the fish turns, sees a bright bait, takes it out of instinct. It doesn't have time to think about it, but it needs to be falling through the water for it to work. Right, that's the kit. Let me talk to you about the actual technique. First of all, you're going to need a pair of these Polaroid glasses. For years I mugged fish without using any sort of Polaroids. I was catching a few fish, doing quite well. It worked on certain pegs where you got a nice shadow and you can see the fish coming into your peg. Then I've been to the local tackle shop, bought, you know, a 20 or 30 quid pair off the tackle shop counter, and they served the purpose. You could see a little bit better. But chap from Wiley X said to me, do you want some sunglasses? I said, okay then, send me some. So he sent me these sunglasses, and let me tell you, it's a different world now. I can see everything much, much clearer. Probably see another 6 or 8 inches into the water compared to those cheaper glasses, and it's really opened my eyes of how many fish there are to be, you know, mugged or dobbed. So what I'm going to do is, my friend at Wiley X is a nice guy, and what he says is, if anyone wants a pair of these sunglasses, if they use the code that I'm going to put on the screen now, and you go to the Wiley X European website, they get 20% off a pair. Now these glasses aren't necessarily the cheapest glasses in the world, but I don't think they're expensive for what they offer. They're about £100, £120, something like that. So you're getting, you know, a really good discount, 20% off. So use that code that's on the screen, go to the website, you'll get some money off. And let me tell you, for this tactic, you need a good pair of Polaroid glasses. What you're looking to do is spot fish, and as the day goes on, you'll notice certain patrol routes that these fish take. You're not necessarily feeding loads and loads of bait. You're actually relying on keeping your swim nice and quiet. I'm actually fishing on a lake today where there's some pleasure anglers on the other end, and they're feeding quite a lot of bait, making a bit of noise. I'm keeping my voice down because I don't want to, you know, make them aware that I'm saying that about them. And what that's doing is pushing any fish out of their swim into my area of the lake. Now I've not fed anything today. You know, bait companies are going to hate me for this, but I've not fed a bean. And I'm relying on those fish coming to my little area of the lake for a bit of quiet, a bit of peace. And by keeping my pole off the water, my float out of the water, and it seems counterproductive because you're hardly casting in. You're just waiting for a fish to come into your swim, and then you're trying to intercept it. And what you're always looking to do is cast or lay your pole rig in with the hook bait closer to the fish than your float. So the fish needs to encounter your hook bait before it encounters the float. And that way, hopefully, it hears that little plop on the surface, turns, spots it, grabs it, and you're hooked to a big fish. And trust me, the fish that are cruising around are usually the biggest fish in the lake. So get ready for catching some really nice fish, and if you're fishing a match, putting together a really big weight. The last thing we need to talk about is the bait. For years I'd use a little light coloured pellet. I'd try and get the lightest coloured pellets I could, and hopefully I could find a batch that sunk really slowly. Obviously things move on, and we're really spoilt now with so many wafters, washters, all these sort of semi-buoyant baits that are designed for feeder fishing and designed for method feeder fishing. What I'll do is I'll use a 7mm washter. Now these baits are really, really bright in the water, really visual, and they balance that size 16 hook I'm using perfectly. So that means that my bait is falling for as long as possible through the water column, and as I say, it's that falling bait that the fish is going to take. He's not going to take that bait when it sits static in the water. You know, you might think you're being clever by just leaving your bait there, but the fish is just not going to take it, believe me. So that falling bait, using those semi-buoyant washters, plus intercepting the fish at the right time and using the right technique is really the key to this method.